a mite bigger piece than I alone, so more the merrier, may as might chew. When ago, while I was 11 or 13 or so, my mother took me to a local community meeting house at a knoll on the hill below the graveyard at the top. We were amongst only very few others who attended this meeting. There were, I think, 3 or 4 individuals hosting this meeting there before us. One of them explained to us that after we closed our eyes and calmed our breathing, the other 2 individuals would be making consistent humming-like sounds in a continuous fashion, as so their resonance would maintain an enduring harmony without lull. They explained that while we did this, there were these beings they called the GrandParents that would use their frequencies of resonance to communicate with us. And so, as to prepare us to be other than startled into opening our eyes, they explained it may sound some kind of strange when they began these communications. And as it turned out, it was as to nothing I've experienced since. After the, we'll call them channelers, had been continuously making these deep humming sounds, though I imagined their mouths were open the entire time without closing, perpetuating this sound for approximately 3 minutes or so, there transpired just as the orator had intimated it would. It was very strange, because without break in their soundings' continuous nature, it was as if there was an overlay of sound to the bass sound of that, of alternated between them making a third frequency through which their vocal cords articulated very distinct words that kind of jumped to and fro between them. And when the words came through each of them, it was really like 2 voices emulating from one body while the 2 of them maintained the harmonics, flawlessly communicating to each of us specific messages solely meant for our particular individualities to absorb. I remember that when they began to speak to us, through my heavy-lidded eyes, I could feel the sun breaking through the clouds beyond the glass windows behind the medium of resonance. This light would fade back to overcast clouds shortly after the orator guided, requested we open our eyes, and that the session had ended. I will only reiterate what these grandparents said about themselves. They said they had been observing in and out of physical incarnations for such an extended duration, intermittently on this planet, and even before that they no longer found it necessary for furthering their purposes to incarnate in the flesh, though they have continued to observe and at times intervene through similar circumstances we're now experiencing to influence the progression of life on this planet from the subtle energy fields through which they now navigate for what may be considered beyond reasonable applicativeness to lend us count generations-wise. If I recall correctly, they said that they had incarnated so many times that gender was more of a current or stream to them, rivering, than the ocean from the perspective they were residing to dwell. Their emphasis for each of us was to awaken us to our individual purposes. We are currently mingling with our interactive incarnate natures for the planet's well of living being. I imagine that if you have been following my upstreamed artistries here on this virtual platform, you may have gotten some comprehensions beyond the gravitas of my socially magnetic persona. Sure. Some of what this underlying veritas may be about bring us up to. Here comes the train. May you have much to match through your gratitudes for, to, and from each other, with and beyond my thanks for accepting this sum of what I've hereby shared. You may take and leave of it whatever you care for. Akashawa, au revoir, and for being outgoing, peace out.